Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next speaker, Joachim Aumann, presenting the topic, what security needs to be our top priority means for AWS builders or customers.
Thanks for joining after lunch. This session here, why security needs to be your and our top priority. I'm Joachim Aumann, 4.5 years a solution architect at AWS. This talk, I will use a lot of AWS acronyms, but the message you will get during this talk is cloud agnostic, so you can use it for any clouds. Who thinks about his work day like this? Hands up, right? Super busy, you have to concentrate on a lot of things. You need to think about a lot of topics. You need to build features. These features needs to be deployed, scalable, reliable. You need to have everything ready for the next sprint. And now Joachim comes and tells you that there's one thing more you need to, what needs to be your top priority. And this is security. And I want to give you one example why this is so important. There was a magazine, 2022, they did a test. And what they did is they used an API key from AWS, an access key to a service and to a user, and published them on GitHub. And what they then did, they measured the time, how long it takes until an attacker has used this access key and attacking the AWS environment and your applications. So some guesses in the room, how long you think it took until the security key was published until the attacker came and attacked the system? Some guesses from the room. 5 minutes? Some more guesses? 3 minutes. It was under 1 minute. Under 1 minute it took, and this is 2 years ago, and maybe it's already the new measurements, which be maybe 30 seconds or so, or even faster. This means when you do a security breach, if you have a security breach, you cannot act anymore because there are scripts out there, there are automations out there, which brings your systems at risk, and there are attackers which attack your system. So that's why you as a developer, you as a security team needs to have security on top of your priority list and on top of your mind. And how we support from AWS you as builders and security teams in the cloud is we have the shared responsibility model. We from AWS take care about security of the cloud, so we make sure that our data centers are secure, that only privileged people can enter them or know their location. And secondly, our services are built with security in mind as a top priority. But second thing is on you. Security in the cloud is your job as a builder, as a user of AWS. This means you need to make sure that your data you store at AWS, your applications you run are secure, right? And we from AWS help you with this list of services. It's an exhaustive list of services we have for security services. We have it divided in different areas. We have security service for identity and access management that you can secure your servers, users, data protection, detection and response. These are our security services which help you to look for security breaches. Network and app protection are our network services which are protecting your applications. Data protection, you can use for example, KMS keys, you can upload your own keys, you can decrypt your data in the cloud, and we have compliance services. You don't need to remember all of them. I want to go into specific example of services for developer, for builders are working in the AWS cloud, and for security teams, which are maybe some of you part of, and want to introduce some services you need to watch out and look for. And the first service for developers is Trusted Advisor. Trusted Advisor is a free service you can look up in the AWS cloud, and it gives you security recommendation for your workload. This means it knows your application, it knows which services you use, and you get specific recommendation on security topics for your workload. And what is important is that it has already best practices built in, is that you use these services and check what is what are the recommendations in for you there. And what I want to influence with this picture is this is something you need to do regularly, right? And like you go into a fitness studio, it's a fitness coach, right? And you need to build up this muscle, and you need to continuously look into your security findings and audits. The next service you need to work with when you're an AWS developer is Inspector. Inspector scans EC2 instances, your Lambda functions, and as well your containers which you host in ECR. And this services and this service then gives you recommendations on security patching levels, and tells you if you use a package on an EC2 instance or if you run an outdated library. So this is the next service. You as a developer need to make sure that you patch your system accordingly, that you have always the up-to-date versions on it. So for developers, call to action. If you go home today, or if you even make it then in the short break after the call, turn on the automatic notifications that you will get emails from the services. For example, from Trusted Advisor, you can get your weekly reports for your services you are responsible for your AWS accounts, and look into them. Look at them at every sprint, right? You do maybe retrospectives, you do different sprint meetings. Why not having one where you look at the recommendation this system gives you frequently after you have built new features? Because as we have seen, it should be all our top priority. And if you have systems like partner systems like Datadog or other services which you already use, you can feed in the information from these services into Datadog, and you can use these services as well to monitor these things. This is for you as a developer. If you are part of a security team and you need to take care about hundreds, maybe thousands of AWS services, and if you need to make them secure, these are the challenges we heard from customers that they face, right? You have all this massive amount of data. A colleague from a customer told me, yeah, it's red like a Christmas tree, and I don't know what findings I all have. I don't know who is responsible for this, right? And these challenges we heard from AWS, and we want to help your security teams to secure your cloud. And this is the service you should look at. Is in the center of the screen, AWS Security Hub, and it's a hub service where all the security findings from other services come in. So for example, Guard Duty, Macy, or Amazon Inspector will all triage their findings into AWS Security Hub, and you will have the chance to look at them holistically from your complete AWS organizations. So no matter how many accounts you have, no matter which services you use, everything will be in this place, and then you can use this service to enrich it even further and use other services. I want to tell you how a flow of finding will look like. So a lot of inspection services will go into a Security Hub, and also Security Hub has an open API where you can post many third-party services as well into Security Hub, but it has well an open API that you can push any findings you maybe see to the system. And then it comes with a very strong and important topic with compliance. A lot of controls and standards are built in Security Hub, and you will see if you are compliant with your company to these security standards, which is a very important thing for a compliance auditor if you need to show this on a yearly basis to some audit person which comes and audits your system. And then you have the chance with Event Hub service where you then can push recommendation to, for example, Slack to your teams, or on email to other to your responsible person for this individual account. You can use even Lambda function or other services like step functions to automatically remediate findings you find in Security Hub and act as soon a finding is there in Security Hub and remediate this topic. So for example, what I see with customers is if there is a port open which should be not open to the public, then I directly close this open port directly again. This is an example for this. And you can, if there is a finding detected, you can use detective to see what was going on. Was this security incident maybe used by how many attackers were already there? So we have services to look into this. So now we had to look at certain services if you are a developer, and we looked at certain services if you are running a security team or part of a security team. Now I want to give you some recommendations on your daily work, what you can get out of today and increase your security posture if you apply to these tips which I give you now. So this is 5 minutes of an EC2 instance log when I open it to the public internet. And what we see here is attackers coming all the time and try to attack our EC2 instance. Right? This is only 5 minutes of log of an EC2 instance, and this means as soon as you open any port of an VM, and this is really cloud agnostic, right? The EC2 in this case for AWS, you will have a security attack vector. And my recommendation is don't use SSH anymore via port 22. This is not needed anymore in the current environments we are in, because we have services like Systems Manager where you can open securely an SSH tunnel through the EC2 machine via port 443. So you don't need to open these ports anymore. And if you run container workloads, for example, on Amazon ECS, or if you run Kubernetes on EKS, there are tools like kubectl exec to directly jump into these workloads without any open port, because all of these tools working on port 443, which are secured with the certification, right? And the next thing is I want to tell you a small story. So when I started at AWS, I think I was 1 month in, we get accounts from AWS where we can play and try out things. And it was a Friday evening. I was doing a demo. I did a workshop, and I worked on this workshop, and in my account. And then it was 11, 12 in the night, whatever. I don't know. I closed the laptop, went to bed. At 2:30, my director from Seattle called me on my phone, because what I have done is I opened an S3 bucket to the public. So I have opened an attack vector. And the policy is on AWS, this is strictly forbidden and will not be tolerated. So what will happen if this happens in my account? It is scanned. It's going an alert to me. And then it's going to an alert. If I'm not reacting in a certain time, 30 minutes, my manager gets this alert. And if he is not reacting, his manager gets the alert until it goes up the chain and someone will react and find you and make you sure that you close this. And let me quickly, because I wanted to show you the tone, let's see if it works, what it does when this happens, because it's an paging application every developer at AWS needs to, or every person at AWS having this account needs to install, and then we get a page which wakes you up in the night. So the message is, don't open any S3 bucket anymore to the public. It's not needed anymore. You don't need to do this anymore, right? I think a lot of people in the room can tell certain stories that certain information was leaked in public S3 buckets, databases, customer data, and so on, right? And this is not needed anymore because we have, for example, a service called CloudFront. It's our CDN service, which you can use to publicly publish certain topics if you need to the internet. For example, if you have images in an S3 bucket, close down this S3 bucket only on private access and use this feature with CloudFront that it's securely connected from CloudFront to S3, and it's using the AWS backbone. And with CloudFront, you get a lot of benefits. For example, you get DDoS protection, you get possibility to have higher security instead of open S3 buckets plainly. And as I said, for AWS employees, it's strictly forbidden. And we have a lot of more policies which are strictly forbidden, and you will get the same alerts and same calls from your manager at night. And yeah, so this is the tip, the second tip I want to give you. The third is this. I've taken this photo when I was at a university laboratory. It's a German, but what you see here, this London 16, someone put a password at this desk, and then I found it funny, and I did a photo of this, right? And we laugh sometimes if we see this kind of photos, right? And we think, hey, why you do this, right? The same thing is with access keys. If you use them in your code, right? Any AWS access key or IAM access key is nothing more than a printed out password for your service, for your application. And we have too often seen these access keys ending up in APIs, in SDKs deployed on a mobile phone, right? Which is then everyone has on his phone, right? We have seen these keys too often leaking to the public. And this is something which is really a problem, and that's why you should not do this anymore. Don't print out any passwords. Don't print or use any keys you for your users or for your application. We have a solution for this, and it's called IAM roles. This means that you can give your Lambda function, your EC2 instance, or your application running at some service on AWS specific rights to do a certain action. And for example, a Lambda function can call an S3 bucket, and you can define in this role the specific S3 bucket you want to call. So please don't use any IAM access keys anymore. And there are another service which I'm really a fan of, and a lot of customers start using as well, is IAM roles anywhere. So if you have a third party which needs to access your system or your endpoints, there is a way with IAM roles anywhere to do this securely without any API key or token. What IAM roles anywhere works on certification. So you have a private certification certificate you give to your third party, and this is checked with your authority, normal client certification handling. So what I want to influence in this third tip is, please make sure you don't print out any passwords anymore. You don't have any hard-coded credentials in anywhere in the code. We have too often seen this happening on GitHub or in any other public spaces. So for the next tip, I need your help. This is from a picture from the movie 300. Who have seen it? Okay, a lot of people. Who knows why they have lost? Why they have lost? There were only 300, yes? Exactly. So they lost right? Well, if you have seen the movie, right, there was a valley, and they fight it again at this attack vector where our 300, where the valley was very narrow, and 300 could protect this vector. And this huge army which came were running against this narrow place, right? But what happens in the movie, and actually happened in history, a scout or someone whispered that there is a way around this valley, and they were then attacked from the back and were beaten up, and they lost the battle. So what you need to do is, this should not happen to you. You need to know which are your attack vectors. What are your public endpoints? Do you know this for your AWS account, for all your applications, for all your services, for all your accounts? This is what you need to do. You need to know if there is someone going behind you and they attack you from a surface what you maybe don't know even, right? So use security groups, close down as much as you can. Of course, you need to have open ports, like 443, for example. This is okay. And then you use other services like AWS WAF or Web Application Service to protect your battleground, right? With the analogy of Spartans, right? You protect as much as you can your attack vector. And please make sure that there is no whisperer or something what you are not aware of, a way around your protection line, which is then attacking you from behind, right? And one more service I've put here, it's Shield Advanced. I don't know if you know it, and that's why I like it to put it there, because it's not a very much known service. But with Shield Advanced, your organization will get in an attack phase of a DDoS attack, for example, access to a very skilled, very great AWS team you can then contact, and they help you on 50 minutes. It's a defensive team which is there to help you in your battleground on your valley, right? So if you have certain requirements, think about AWS Shield Advanced. The next analogy is this, and what I have done and why I've choose this picture is what I do if someone sends me a newsletter which I don't want to receive. I ask them to delete all my personal data and send them to me, right? And this is the data then they need to shredder or need to get out of the system. Security needs to be on top of our priority, but as well, I think compliance is as well a topic which you need to think about, right? PII, personal identifier data. As I don't want that it's stored everywhere in the application or at any systems, right? I need to make sure this for my applications, I guarantee this as well, right? So if you have PII, personal identifier data in your application, make sure you know where they are, right? And you need automation to detect them, right? You have thousands of data. All our application works with so much data. You need to have automation in place which tells you, hey, at this application, at this data store, you have personal identifier data. Because there could be Joachim coming and asking delete all of them, right? And you then need to define controls and lifecycle management which make sure that this data is deleted. Why lifecycle management? Because the law says delete this as well from backup data, right? So make sure you get this right as well, right? Because to be honest, right, if I first saw this law, I said, okay, this is hard, but this is in benefit from all of us. I use it sometimes, and I want that the companies I trust and give my data having this in place. I want that you shoot high on your security standards. This slide was influenced by a customer, a CTO of a company. It's a German website where you can sell mobile cars online, and it's a trading market for cars. And what he said, we, at some point in time, he was speaking to the management, to the C-level, and said, we freeze now for 3 months, and I work on all open security findings we have, right? And then they froze everything, worked on all security topics, and if there are new security incident or topic came up, it went on top of their backlog, and they were directly addressing them, right? Because what it is, a security warning, a security alert you may receive brings your company at risk, right? And it's right. There are huge fines of public if your customer data, for example, of your application is leaked to the public. So that's why it's so important. It should be your top priority. It should be on top of your backlog if you have a finding. And this is what he implemented, and they reduced all these security findings in a certain time, and then went on with feature development, of course, but with the strict rule, if there's a security finding, it goes on top of your backlog, you need to address them. Then I want to give you another example of a customer, SAP. I've written a blog post with a security expert from SAP, how SAP secures 6,000 AWS accounts. And what they do is they use a partner called Orca Security. And Orca Security gives them the ability to continuously scan all the 6,000 accounts, right? And if there is a security alert, it's automatically paging and emailing the account owner to know, hey, make sure you address your topic, and also have automatically remediations in place. For example, I talked about port 22. They put directly, if someone opens the port, it's directly closed and put the IP address of SAP internal network into the security group, right? And this gives, at least they talk publicly about this. We have written this blog post, and this gives confidence to the customers of SAP which running their ERP system. The ERP system is the backbone of your complete business, right, in the cloud. And you need to make sure that your customers can trust you in the same way, right? That you have these mechanisms in place that your customers can trust that you do your job correctly. And the next thing is what we have done from AWS to help you to fulfill these requirements is we built up the well-architected framework, and it has a security pillar. For them, maybe you don't know the well-architected framework. It's a service for free in the console, so you can go in, and then it's a questionnaire you can do with your team to see if you apply to these standards. These standards, which you see here at the well-architected frameworks, are standards we from AWS have developed over the last 15 to 20 years with our customers. And this is the condensed way. You will get recommendations to what to do when you have a certain findings. Even, hey, use this service to protect you against this threat. I know no developer, me included, don't like to do questionnaires, right? But it's something, right? Do it in a beer garden with the team, get you 2 hours and go through, everyone prints it out, right? But do this task, because it will give you a confidence in the team that, okay, we apply to certain security standards or not, right? And then you can, increase the security of your system. So don't be scared. It's a big photo of Jeff Bezos. And he has said an important topic: good intention don't work, mechanisms do. Think about this, right? No developer in your organization want to open a security gate, right? No developer wants this, but it happens because we are all humans. We have a stressful job. Maybe we forgot sometimes to look at certain topics, right? What you need to do is you have mechanisms in place. And this mechanisms is not only once a year or every quarter. This needs to be every sprint or every time you make a big feature release. You need to look at your security architecture, right? Good intention don't work. Because everyone here in the room, every developer wants to not open any security breach. But we are all human, so have your mechanism in place to make your application secure. My last slide, key takeaways, right? I want that you take your security scanning and monitoring seriously, and that you do this on sprint basis. I put sprint there because I think it's relating to a lot of us here, right? But if an alert is there, immediately react, right? Look at your findings, triage them, look at the security gaps you have and close them. This needs to be on top of your priority list because every open finding brings your company, your business at risk. And with this well-architected framework, make sure that you build best practice of security directly in your architecture, right? We have heard that, for example, I was in a talk before that cost needs to be as well architected into your applications, right? Cost is very important. Security is even more important. All of your customers rely on that you get this right, right? And with this, I want to thank you. I will send out the slides and I'm open for question if you have some.
Okay, thank you very much. And now it's time for the questions. I don't think we have anything in the survey, but Slido, but maybe you have still some questions.
Who likes 300?
Okay.
Remember this if you see the next button, video or topic or picture.
Yeah, so maybe I have some questions.
Sure.
To use the time. So is AWS planning to do something like global policies? As you said, for example, about the policy that you have enforced, that you cannot open S3 bucket. But it would be nice if you could, for all your accounts, particular accounts in AWS, just do that write down this kind of the policy, and it won't be possible.
If you create an S3 bucket, it is secured by default,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
it is closed, so you need to intentionally open an S3 bucket, for example, right? I think this was a change we introduced, that it's by default closed. I'm not aware, because we want to give our customers all the flexibility, that we introduce
possibility to create those.
But what we try to do is to make it secure by default, and that you as a customer need to actively do, right? I like AWS config a lot as well. It's a service where you can scan as well, and then you see what is configured and you can map it. But I'm not sure, and I don't think it's the way we design services that we say, hey, this is a hard stop. But maybe I'm proven wrongly soon, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Then thank you so much for coming. I think I will be at this corner, ask the speakers, and thank you.